Hi friends, welcome to math class today. Today we're going to be working on creating equivalent fractions using multiplication and division. So on Monday we worked with using our fraction tiles and using a visual model to create equivalent fractions. Today we're actually going to use multiplication and division. When we're following this, we need to remember a very important rule. Our rule is that whatever I do to the top of my fraction, I have to do to the bottom of my fraction. So I'm going to show you how that rule works with starting with a simple number. Here is our fraction that we're going to start with. 2 6, all right? And I even have my 6 here to visualize what 2 6 looks like. Okay, if you think about it in comparison to a whole, we can see it there. All right, 2 6. So my rule says whatever I do to the top, I need to do to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a friendly number. Friendly numbers are numbers that you're able to easily multiply or divide by. All right. When I think about multiplying, I think my easiest number to multiply by is 2. So let's start with that. If I do it to the top, I have to do that same equation to the bottom. All right, so 2 times 2 equals 4, and 6 times 2 equals 12. 4 twelfths. And I could even, since I have twelfths with my fraction tiles, I could even double check and make sure that it works and it is equivalent. They match up. All right, so I multiplied by the same number on the top and the bottom, and I created an equivalent fraction. All right, now I could also use division, and I know that I can divide my top number and my bottom number by 2 because they're both even numbers. All right, so I know that I could divide the top number by 2 and I could divide the bottom number by 2. All right, let's figure out what our new equivalent fraction would be. 2 divided by 2 equals 1, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. All right, so let's see. I do have thirds, so I can check. And 2 6 is equivalent to 1/3. I divided this time, and I divided by 2. And I did the same thing to the top and the bottom, which means I did the same thing to my numerator and my denominator, which created an equivalent fraction. Let's try another together. Let's try our fraction 1/5. Okay, now 1/5, I can't divide by anything because I have a 1 as a numerator, which means it's already in its unit form, right? 1/5, I can't divide by anything other than 1 without getting the same fraction. So I'm going to multiply. I'm going to multiply by 2. Okay? I know that whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom if I'm using multiplication or division to create an equivalent fraction. So let's take a look. 1 times 2 equals 2, and 5 times 2 equals 10. All right, and again, I have tenths, so I can double check my work. And it worked. All right, now if I wanted to, I could multiply by a different number. If I wanted to, I could multiply, hey, I could even do by 5. As long as I'm doing the same thing to the top and the bottom, it doesn't matter. So 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay? All right, let's try another one where we can use division. All right, let's do 4/8. Now, I can easily see that 4 is an even number and 8 is an even number. So I know right away I can divide by 2, right? So I'm going to show that on the top, and I'm going to show that on the bottom. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Are you noticing something? We know that 4 is half of 8. We know that 2 is half of 4, so we could even create another equivalent fraction because we know that these fractions are equivalent to 1/2. All right, I could also, if I wanted to do multiplication, I could also multiply by 2 or by 3 or by 4, or I could even do by 10. So here now I have 8/16. If I wanted to create another one, I could even keep multiplying across, as long as I'm doing the same to the top and the bottom. Let's try another one. Let's try one with division. Let's try this one. 3/9. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. You need to think about what number can I easily divide both these by. We're going to stick with easy numbers to start, and those numbers are 2s, 3s, 5s, okay? I know that I can't take 9 or 3 and divide it by 2 because they're odd numbers, right? I would have a remainder, and we're not working with that quite yet. But I do know that I could divide 9 by 3, and I also could divide 3 by 3. So I'm going to choose 3. I'm going to write that down. Okay, let's see. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 1/3 is equivalent to 3/9. All right, last but not least, let's do one more. Where let's do some 12ths, okay? I want you to look at this number, 8/12, and we do have 12ths. If you want to pull out your 12ths, you can. This one I want you to try by yourself, all right? I want you to think about what could be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whoops, 8. What could be an equivalent fraction to 8/12? We could divide, or we also could multiply for this, all right? I'm going to divide because I know that 12ths and 8ths, I can both divide by 2. Go ahead and figure out what the equivalent fraction would be. Did you get 4/6? Let's see. Let's line them up. 1, 2. My board is moving here. 3, 4. And if I lined them up, I would see that 8/12 is equivalent to 4/6. Okay. Last but not least, I also know that I could divide by another number. Okay, I could divide the top and the bottom both by 4, right? And I can evenly do that. I only want to divide by numbers that I can evenly do without needing remainders. All right, 8 divided by 4 equals 2, and 12 divided by 4 equals 3. And I do have thirds to test this out. There's my 1/3. And there's my 2/3, and they are equivalent. So today, friends, and tomorrow, you're going to be using multiplication and division to practice creating equivalent fractions. Way to go, friends. Keep up the awesome work.